My mom sold her house. $620,000. Gone. And she handed every cent to my daughter-in-law. Then they showed up at my mansion with suitcases, smiling like it was their right to live under my roof. I said one word. No. That's when Samantha slapped me across the face. But what she didn't know, I'd already called my lawyer. And the moment she received that subpoena, her confidence shattered. Her mask slipped. And panic set in. My name is Elena. I'm 55 years old. And I thought I had learned how to handle betrayal. But nothing prepared me for what my own mother did. She sold her house. The one she had lived in for 40 years. The one I grew up in. The one that held every memory of my childhood. And she sold it for $620,000. But that wasn't the real blow. The real blow was where the money went. Not into savings. Not into healthcare. Not even toward her own comfort. No. She handed the check to my daughter-in-law, Samantha. A woman who had been in our family for barely 2 years. A woman with sharp eyes, sweet smiles, and a talent for pretending to be innocent. I'll never forget sitting at the dining table when Mom announced it. She deserves it, Elena, she said softly, as if she were giving away a box of old clothes. She's young. She's building her future. I don't need it. I nearly choked on my coffee. Mom, 600,000? You're giving it to her. Samantha lowered her lashes, pretending to blush. But her fingers were clenched around that check like claws. She'll use it wisely, Mom insisted. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. Because my mother's voice, fragile and frail, stopped me cold. You already have your mansion. Elena. You don't need this. Those words cut deeper than any knife. Yes, I had worked my entire life to build my home. Yes, I had carved out my success through sweat, sleepless nights, and sacrifice. But that didn't mean my hard work gave others the right to rob me of respect. And still, it wasn't over. A week later, I opened my front gate to see them standing there. My mother. Samantha. Even my son, his eyes heavy with shame, his voice silent. Suitcases at their feet. Mom smiled weakly. As a family, we thought it would be better if we stayed here. Just until things settle. The audacity made my head spin. They had taken her house. They had taken her money. And now they wanted mine. I stood tall in the doorway. And for the first time in my life I said it. No. The word echoed, sharp as broken glass. Samantha's face twisted instantly. Her fake sweetness dissolved. And before I could even step back, she slapped me. The sting burned my cheek. But inside me, something else ignited. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I didn't back down. That very same day, I called my lawyer. Because they thought I'd roll over. They thought I'd give in. But they were about to learn. I was done being their victim. The lawyer's voice was calm, steady, deliberate. You did the right thing, Elena. But this isn't going to be easy. I paced the living room, my cheeks still tingling from Samantha's slap. Her arrogance echoed in my head, the smug curl of her lips, the way she thought she had already won. She manipulated my mother, I hissed. She drained her life savings, and now she's trying to invade my home. I won't allow it. On the other end of the line, my lawyer spoke carefully. If we pursue this, we'll need proof. Undue influence. Financial exploitation. Something to show the court that she preyed on your mother's vulnerability. Proof. The word sat heavy on my chest. Because Samantha was clever. She wouldn't leave an obvious trail. But then I remembered. The signed checks. The rushed transfers. The way my mother often looked confused when we spoke about money. I grabbed a folder, pulling together every scrap of evidence I could find. Bank slips, text messages, even voicemails where Samantha guided my mother through transactions she barely understood. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. It wasn't generosity. It wasn't kindness. It was manipulation. That night, my best friend Emma sat across from me, her eyes blazing. You can't let her get away with this. She thinks she's untouchable because your son is standing beside her. But Elena, this fight isn't just about the money. It's about dignity. Her words lit something inside me. Because yes, Samantha had taken the money. Yes, she had even turned my own mother against me. But what she didn't realize was that I had more than walls and wealth on my side. I had resolve. I had truth. And I had the law. Meanwhile, Samantha wasn't sitting idle. She moved fast, weaving her web of lies. She started telling people I was cold, that I abandoned my own mother, that I was too greedy to share my home. Neighbors whispered. Family members called me, confused, asking why I was being so harsh. And worst of all, my son stayed silent. He stood by her side, letting her poison spread unchecked. That betrayal, his betrayal, cut the deepest. But I didn't waver. The very next morning, I walked into my lawyer's office with my folder in hand. He scanned the documents, nodded once and said, "This is enough to start." The papers were drawn. The subpoena was prepared. And as I signed my name, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Strength. Because Samantha thought she had silenced me with that slap. But the truth was, she had just declared war. And now, the battlefield wasn't my mansion. It was the courtroom. The subpoena was delivered on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but my neighbor called me later, his voice practically buzzing with excitement. "Elena, you should have seen her face." Samantha had answered the gate herself, lounging in designer pajamas, bought, no doubt, with my mother's money. The courier handed her the envelope. She laughed at first. Then she opened it. And the laugh died. Her hands trembled. Her lips parted. The color drained from her cheeks. Because in her hands wasn't just paper. It was the law. It was the end of her game. She slammed the gate shut, storming inside. Minutes later, my phone lit up with calls. First from my son. Then from Mom. Finally, from Samantha herself. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I sat in my office, sipping coffee, letting the silence stretch. Emma smirked from across the desk. "She's panicking, isn't she?" I nodded. "Oh, she's terrified." Because the subpoena wasn't just for show. It demanded every record. Every transaction. Every trace of how she had convinced my frail mother to hand over $620,000. For the first time, Samantha was trapped in a world she couldn't charm her way out of. And that was only the beginning. By evening, Samantha's panic had turned into rage. She left me 12 voicemails, each one louder than the last. "You can't do this to me. You'll regret it. This family will never forgive you." I deleted them all. But I knew her well enough to understand what came next. When Samantha panicked, she schemed. Sure enough, within days she began spinning a story. She told neighbors I was jealous. She painted herself as the poor, misunderstood daughter-in-law, taking care of my ungrateful mother. And worst of all, she turned my son against me even more. He showed up at my gate one night, anger flashing in his eyes. "How could you drag my wife into court? She's family." My heart clenched. This was my boy, the one I raised, the one I worked so hard for. But now he looked at me as if I were the enemy. I didn't shout. I didn't break. I simply said, "Family doesn't steal $620,000. Family doesn't slap the hand that feeds them." His jaw tightened. But he didn't have an answer. Behind him, in the shadows of the car, I saw Samantha watching. Her face pale. Her mask cracking. Because she realized something in that moment. Her lies couldn't shield her forever. Inside my office, Emma spread the documents across the desk. Bank transfers. Signed checks. Even text messages where she tells your mom, "Don't worry, Elena doesn't need the money." This is airtight. I exhaled slowly. For the first time in weeks, I felt the ground solid beneath my feet. Samantha thought she was clever. But now, the truth was stacked against her like a mountain. And when the court date came, she wouldn't be able to run. The news spread faster than I imagined. Within days, Samantha's polished mask began to crack. Not just behind closed doors, but in public. At a charity brunch she attended, a woman leaned across the table and asked bluntly, "Is it true you're being sued for taking your mother-in-law's house money?" Samantha froze, her smile stiff, her fork clattering against her plate. For once, she had no rehearsed answer. Word traveled in whispers. At the grocery store. At the salon. Even at church. Her reputation, Her carefully crafted illusion was unraveling. And that's when she struck back. She arrived at my gate one evening, dressed in expensive heels, her eyes burning. "You're destroying this family," she spat. "You want everyone to think I'm some kind of thief." I met her glare with steel. "You destroyed yourself, Samantha. I just brought the receipts." Her lip curled, but she hesitated. Because she knew the truth. I had the receipts. Bank transfers, texts, dates, signatures. All lining up like dominoes ready to fall. Behind her, my son shifted uncomfortably. He wasn't shouting anymore. He wasn't even looking me in the eye. He was beginning to doubt her. That's when Samantha snapped. She jabbed a finger toward me. "You think you'll win because you have money and lawyers? Courts can be manipulated. People can be bought." Her voice cracked on the last word. And for the first time, I saw fear flicker across her face. Because deep down, she knew this wasn't about manipulation anymore. This was about the truth. Emma leaned toward me later that night, her voice low but firm. "She's already crumbling, Elena. By the time she steps into court, she'll be ashes." And I believed her. Because panic had already set in. And Samantha was drowning in it. The courthouse smelled of polished wood and tension. Every bench was filled. Neighbors, family, even strangers who had heard the whispers. They all came to see Samantha, the glamorous daughter-in-law, finally face the truth. She walked in late, sunglasses on, clutching my son's arm like a lifeline. Her heels clicked sharply, but her confidence wavered with every step. When she sat across from me, she smirked. But her hands... her hands trembled against the table. The judge called the room to order. And my lawyer began. "Your Honor, this is not just a case of money. This is a case of manipulation. Of undue influence. Of a vulnerable woman exploited." He laid the first piece of evidence on the table. A copy of the check. $620,000. The courtroom buzzed. Next came the transfers. The texts. The recordings of Samantha's voice, guiding my mother through steps she barely understood. "Don't worry, Elena doesn't need the money," her voice echoed across the speakers. "She has her mansion. Just sign here." Gasps rippled through the room. I watched Samantha's face stiffen, her lips pressing into a thin line. She tried to object. She tried to interrupt. But the judge silenced her. Then came the final blow. My mother's testimony. Frail, her hands shaking, she spoke softly into the microphone. She told me. She said it was for the family. She said Elena would be angry, but it was the right thing to do. I thought I was helping. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't know I was giving everything away. The room fell silent. Even my son, sitting beside Samantha, dropped his head into his hands. Because the truth was undeniable now. Samantha's mask cracked completely. She stood, her voice rising, desperate. "I didn't force her. She gave it to me willingly. This is all a misunderstanding." But no one believed her anymore. Not after the evidence. Not after the recordings. Not after my mother's broken voice telling the world how she had been tricked. The judge's gavel slammed. "Order. Enough." He looked directly at Samantha. "This court finds clear evidence of undue influence and financial exploitation. Restitution will be ordered. Further charges may follow." Her jaw dropped. Her face drained white. She clutched my son's arm, whispering frantically. But he didn't look at her. Not anymore. He was staring at me. At the mother he had doubted. At the woman who refused to be broken. I sat tall. Calm. Unshaken. Because I knew this was more than a victory in court. This was the moment Samantha's empire of lies collapsed around her. And she knew it too. Her eyes locked with mine, wide, panicked. For the first time. She looked afraid. The verdict echoed through the courtroom like thunder. Restitution ordered. Fraud confirmed. Samantha's game. Over. She collapsed into her chair, her manicured hands clutching the edge of the table like it might save her. But nothing could. Not her charm. Not her lies. Not even my son's silence. He sat beside her, stiff, pale, ashamed. When the judge dismissed us, the room erupted into whispers. Neighbors traded looks. Friends shook their heads. Everyone had seen it now. The truth, naked and undeniable. As I walked toward the doors, Samantha sprang up, her voice sharp and broken. "You ruined me, Elena. Do you hear me? You ruined my life." I stopped, turned, met her eyes, and I said quietly, "No, Samantha. You ruined your own." The words sliced through the air, final and unarguable. She froze, lips trembling, before being ushered away by her lawyer. Outside, the sun was blinding. Emma slipped her arm through mine, grinning. "Victory looks good on you." But it wasn't about victory. It was about justice. About reclaiming my dignity after years of being pushed aside, taken for granted, betrayed by the very people who should have stood with me. Later that night, I sat in my garden, the quiet hum of crickets filling the air. My mother was inside, safe, resting. For the first time in months, she seemed lighter, no longer weighed down by Samantha's influence. And my son, he came to me. Alone. His shoulders slumped, his voice cracked. "Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I should have believed you." I looked at him, my heart torn. Because forgiveness is never simple. But I also saw the boy I raised, the man caught in a web he hadn't woven himself. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence carry the weight. Finally I said, "You have to choose better for yourself. For your future. Today the court saved us. But tomorrow, you have to save yourself." His eyes glistened. He nodded. It wasn't a perfect reconciliation. But it was a beginning. As the moon rose, I thought back to that first moment. Samantha's hand striking my cheek. The humiliation. The fire it lit inside me. That fire had carried me here. Through subpoenas, through whispers, through betrayal. And now, standing at the end of it all, I knew one truth clearer than ever. I was not weak. I was not a victim. I was Elena. A woman who had defended her family's honor, her home, and herself. Samantha had thought she could slap me into silence. Instead, she woke the storm that destroyed her. And as I closed my eyes under the silver glow of the night sky, I whispered the only words that felt right. Never again.